Okay, I'm going to try not to get a copyright strike, but I thought I'd demonstrate something. You've probably seen this old Pioneer. I think it's a PL200. Yeah, PL200 turntable. I bought this back in the, I guess in the early 80s. One of the very first pieces of audio gear I ever bought as a young guy. I didn't know much about stuff, but that's what they were selling at the time. You've already seen the Fisher 400 hooked up to it, but I don't know if you recall, but I tried to drive it off of this this nice little Motorola. I think it's called a BW1000 or 10,000 or something like that. Anyway, it's a dual speaker with a central woofer. The satellite, it uses an interesting setup where it drives one channel to drive left, one channel to drive right, and this central speaker is a mixture of the two. Some weird way they took up the transformer. I can't remember all the details, but it's kind of interesting. I guess the theory is that these are supposed to be high frequencies, and this is low frequency, and stereo apparently low frequencies. I guess unless you got your head right in between it, you wouldn't really notice it so much. Whereas the highs, the separation seems to be more important. But the point of today's demonstration, why am I running this and why am I running this? Well, if you saw earlier, I tried to run this by just driving the phono section direct. Clearly, this thing was designed for a high output phono cartridge, not the typical magnetic cartridge found in anything after the late 70s, I guess. And I was going through some of my old stash, and I came across this cute little thing, which a friend of mine, Chris, gave me a long time ago. It's a little dual tube preamp section. It uses two 12AX7s. It's a little power supply. Very simple to hook up. RCA jacks in, hardwired RCA cables out. Couldn't be easier to hook up. It's got a switch for phono and tape. Maybe that's got two levels. Maybe this is, the tape's probably attenuated a little bit, whereas the phono is probably more sensitive. I didn't bother to try it to find out. But anyway, I've got that plugged into, it has its own power supply, like I said, and it plugs into the switched outlet. Well, you can't see it on the back of this thing. So what's kind of cool is when there's no power switch on that preamp, but when you turn this off, it cuts the power to that. We'll turn this up just for a second, so it's trying to get copyright strike, but I just want you to hear it. Hopefully that wasn't too much, but that's Simon and Garfunkel. But the point I wanted to make was I get really good volume now, down around 1 or 2, no problems at all. So that preamp is working great. It sounds nice. It's kind of fun to use this old equipment in this way, and I'm really glad to have that preamp to play around with, because otherwise this thing's phono section's pretty much a waste of time, because I just don't have any cartridges that can drive it. Anyway, I just want to demonstrate that for you. I thought it was a pretty neat little piece of technology. Let's take another close look at that one more time. You see, here's a tape input. There's a phono input. Without this, I mean, you really have to drive this thing hard to get any volume out of it. And I don't know if the quality of sound is the same. Does it sound as good as the Fisher? Well, clearly not, but the Fisher's got much better speakers on it for starters. The front end of it's probably not too different. I mean, it's got 12AX7s in this, 12AX7s on these two preamp tubes for the phono. Obviously the power section's much more stout. I think this thing's rated at like, I don't know, 20 watts per channel. Maybe I can't remember exactly. It's either 20 watts per channel or it's 40 watts per channel. I would be willing to say probably more like 20 watts a channel, which in today's era doesn't sound like much, but you gotta remember back in the day, tube amps drove efficient speakers. You didn't have to pump out 400 watts, 500 watts per channel to super inefficient speakers so you could shake the house loose. It was more about just trying to reproduce a sound as high fidelity as you could. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to shut this down now, and like I said, you can turn this cut here, and I don't know if you can be able to tell it or not, but let's see if I can see that tube blowing down. Can you see the tube blowing? No, you're not going to be able to see it. Oh well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching.